What's up, guys? I just want to read out of Hebrews 12. I'm going to start in verse 2. Looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be weary and faint in your minds. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. I think about that, reading that, because I think about Christ being crucified on the cross, and I think about what he did for us and how he was willing to lay his life down for our sins so that we could be seen as righteousness before God. And sometimes I look at myself and I wonder why I allow myself to sin, right? Why does my flesh seem to prevail? The reason my flesh prevails, and the reason our flesh prevails, is because we aren't looking unto Jesus, as verse 2 says, the author and the finisher of our faith. We think there's something that we can do. We think that there's some effort that we can put forth, that there's some strength that we can muster up, and there's not. I think the only thing that we can do in our walk is to look unto Jesus in any situation. When we're having bad thoughts, when we're facing temptations, when we're struggling to read our word, when we're asking God for help in a certain situation. But it also goes on to talk about the sacrifice. And what sacrifice are we making, or are we willing to make? Are we willing to go against the sin of our flesh until the blood is drawn? Is that what we're willing to do? Most of us would say no to that. But I'm going to say this. You don't know what God is willing to do in your life until you're willing to bleed for it. You know, we are seen perfect, as perfect in the eyes of God because of Jesus. And Jesus is the author and the finisher of our faith. That means it's done. There's nothing that you can do. There's no amount of effort you can put forth. There's no amount of obedience that you can strive for. If it's not in Jesus, if it's not by Jesus, if it's not through Jesus, then you're just adding to the gospel. See, we first have to accept that he did it on the cross. And when he defeated hell, death, and the grave, that is sin that he defeated, because the penalty of sin is death. But the law of the Spirit is life. So let's live in the Spirit. Let's look unto Jesus in all things. That's what we have to do. I know sometimes it's hard to wrap our heads around it because we're living in the flesh, but we must strive to live in the Spirit and to worship God in truth and in spirit, and keep our eyes on Jesus. I pray that you have a blessed day.